2019's Hellboy is directed by Neil Marshall.
As a young boy, Hellboy was brought back by Professor Broom to the BPRD, the Bureau for Paranormal Defense, to fight other paranormal things that have entered the world. The evil queen in this movie, portrayed by Mila Jovovich, wants to bring about the end of the apocalypse after being banished by King Arthur.
This is my friend Brittany. She'll be reviewing the movie with me because she's a huge fan of Hellboy and she definitely knows more than me when it comes to this franchise, so I thought I'd bring her along for this review.
Hi, everybody.
Right off the bat, I'd have to say that Neil Marshall, I've seen The Descent, which he's directed, and that's one of my favorite horror movies. It's up there, and I thought he did a good job in this movie. I thought his direction of everything was pretty good. It's not as stylized as Del Toro's movies are, but just the same, I really liked how like gritty and almost nasty it was. It really matched the whole aesthetic that Hellboy has, especially from like the comics. So I thought he did a good job in that area. Honestly, I thought he did as much as he could considering the issues that we'll be discussing later.
Personally, there were some things that he did good, and there were other things that could be him, could be this other guy. It could have been a culmination of things. Could have been on-set problems for all we know.
While we were watching the movie, at the end credits, I noticed that there was lots of producers as well as executive producers involved, and I noticed that when a lot of producers have their hands in a franchise, there could be a lot of disagreements, especially creatively, and it really came off like the movie was trying to fitting everything into one film and not in the best of ways. David Harbour, I thought he did a really good job as Hellboy. I thought that it was a good casting choice to pick him because worried of them picking some like current hunk, I guess is a way to put it, like the most popular actor in Hollywood right now. And I feel like when it comes to Hellboy, that's just not the best approach. Like, for example, Ron Perlman, like everybody knew who he was, and
they've seen Hellboy.
Yeah,
he was the perfect Hellboy.
Yeah, they definitely made a smart choice picking him for Hellboy. And I feel this way about David Harbour as Hellboy too. He brought a new kind of, I guess, shtick to the character. Which I thought was kind of cool and fitting for like 2019. He had more of this like rocker.
Yeah, and I kind of prefer that because like, yeah, the Ron Perlman Hellboy was good and always has a good place in my heart. But David Harbour's performance, Hellboy was raised by humans. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a more humanistic nature and a more humanistic ideals.
Ian McShane did a really good job at Professor Broom. When it comes to that character, especially ever since Del Toro's film, I kind of feel like the standard that you need is to have this distinctive voice where it's perfect for exposition and being this like figure that knows like everything,
like a narration voice, a voice you can listen to repeatedly. And John Hurt's voice was candy to the ears.
Yeah, the late John Hurt, he did such a good job at Professor Broom in Del Toro's film, and I feel like Ian McShane's a good substitute. He was really good in this film. I like the chemistry between him and Hellboy.
To me, John Hurt and Ron Perlman was more of like a grandfather, stepson sort of relationship.
To me, to even go on that is John Hurt and Ron Perlman's chemistry in that film. I thought that it was more like paternal almost. Whereas in this movie, it was more like they're at each other's throats the way that like a dad and son who have like the same personality.
And I appreciated that because it seemed like more of a relationship, but they're also at each other's throats in a way that I've seen fathers and sons be at each other's throats.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Sasha Lane did a good job. She played Alice in the movie. I thought she was a good addition. The role that she had in this movie, it almost came off like if they had a sequel, I don't even know if she would really be in it. Because it's like she was important and necessary with her abilities and everything for what was happening in this film. But I don't really know if she'd be necessary for anything else that happens in a sequel or not. I really like how they made them platonic. I'm glad they didn't make Alice a love interest to Hellboy.
Yeah, that's one of the other things I'm kind of thankful for.
Daniel Day Kim, he plays Major Ben.
Major Ben.
He's the main agent for BPRD, and I thought his performance was really good. My problems are mainly in the writing, and that comes with most of the characters that we already mentioned. Just like all the other actors in the movie, I thought with what he had, he did a really good job. I thought he was a good foil to David Harbour's Hellboy.
Military guy to keep Hellboy in line.
His chemistry was pretty organic with the other actors in the movie, considering what his character is like. It's like he can only get so close to them. And so all the responses that he has in the film are, it's like what you'd expect his responses to be in the movie. So Mila Jovovich, she was the Blood Queen, the main antagonist of the film. I mean, the character was pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else, though. For what she had, I thought her performance was good. She actually doesn't come up as much as you'd think she would.
Yeah, she comes up a grand total of 3 to 4 times.
Yeah, the movie goes all over the place, and I mean all over the place. And because of that, she doesn't get a lot of airtime. Troy James is in this film, and if you don't know who that is, he was in America's Got Talent. What's the specific name title?
He's a contortionist.
Yeah. So he can move his body in all these like really eccentric ways. And ever since he popped up on that show, he's kind of been casted for that reason. And yeah, he pops up in this movie in a role you wouldn't think.
We didn't know until I was just scrolling through and I was like, what? She moves around like a contortionist like that, and he definitely did a good job at that. She freaked me out like a lot. It was a really good representation of that character.
It's like one of my favorite parts of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all my favorite parts of the film are these like brutal like horror. Yeah, that's the one thing that I can give respect to the movie for, is the fact that they really dive into this world. They really take advantage of the fact that it's a Hellboy universe and everything that comes with it. It could be something that comes up like a little bit, or something that's implied, or something that only comes up with like 2 minutes of airtime, but it like builds the universe so much. And it works in ways, and in other ways it doesn't work. Marshall was making sure that's crucial that practical effects dominate over CGI in the film, and I thought that it made the movie all the better for it. Mm-hmm. You can tell very much in this film that they use practical effects the furthest extent they can, and when it comes to the scenes where there's no possible way they could use practical effects, they use CGI. When it comes to that aspect, a lot of films should take note from that, because it makes it look more like organic, and it makes it feel more real when you watch a movie and it has practical effects used in that manner.
And also the CGI effects were actually pretty good. Like the stuff that they used, it went very much with the flow of everything. They did use CGI for certain R-rated portions of the film, and I feel like they did that very well, and it all blend together pretty well with the practical effects. And I think it came out beautifully.
The main problems that I think we both can agree that we have with the movie is not only the writing, but the editing of the film. So people who are writing films, or want to write films, or just want to study screenplays and stuff, take note from this movie to not write like that. If you see a scene and you're like, why does this feel so like silly or goofy in like a really bad way, that's why. Especially with Major Ben's character, there's just a lot of lines he has where it's just like, you're just a total stereotype of that, like it's like that 80s action film, like
military guy,
manly man
here to do his mission for queen and country. And
got to the point where it was the middle of the film where I actually felt like, oh wow, like that really got me there, is interaction between David Harbour, Hellboy, and Ian McShane, Professor Broom. It was like this interaction they were having, and it was related to Hellboy's like upbringing. It's the only time in the movie where it had like
genuine heart.
Yeah. It was the only time in the movie where it felt like it had heart.
It's to put it into different emotions. There's a lot of imagination in this movie, and there is heart in that one scene. There just wasn't a good amount of thought put into some portions of it.
Like some portions of the film, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. World building is good in a film when it's related to a franchise that is like something like comics, and it's something that has been around for a long time, and so because it's been around for a long time, there's this huge world that you can tap into when you're making a film. World building is crucial. I understand that. But in this movie, there was just too much world building, and it hurt it.
So much at you.
Yeah, it's just the movie is spread really thin, and the reason why is because of the world building. We're saying all this stuff about how the fact that they keep throwing in all these different plot points, but the thing is, none of the stuff that they're talking about is necessarily bad. It's the fact that it comes off very much like all the people involved in this film were told, you're not getting anything else, you're not getting a trilogy, you're not getting a saga, you're not getting anything. You have to fill as much as you can in this one film. What stuff did they get right, and what stuff did they get wrong in this film?
Baba Yaga they got very right. She was very creepy, just the house and the forest and everything. Baba Yaga's this older woman. Hellboy's had some run-ins with her. He's taken something from her for a good reason. She's weird.
And and this is an example of like good world building in this film, where it's not like affecting the movie as a whole. It's just adding on to it. It's just like a sprinkle. Next main issue of the film was the editing.
It's because you did that, and at the same time, I was like this.
Feels like there was scenes in the film that were supposed to be like 20 minutes long, but the way that it was edited, it was taken from 20 minutes to like 5 minutes. And those 20 minutes were like chunky and important details. And that's why all the scenes are like in the movie.
Like the writers were like, here are these 5 things. Try to marry them. And the editor was just like,
There's another thing with the editing is in the beginning of the film, they kept doing this thing that I saw in Civil War that they were doing. It was that they'd go to a different location and it would say in these big bold words what the location is. My problem isn't that. My problem is after 20 minutes into the film, they stopped doing it. And the thing is, in the beginning of the film, when they were kept doing that, not even like 2 minutes before they did that, the character was already discussing where that place was going to be. So there really was no reason to put bold words of where they were going, because they just talked about where they were going.
Just do a sweeping shot of the city and you're good.
Yeah, whereas later on in the movie, when they don't do that anymore, it's places where you wish they did that. Like, it's places where it's like, I don't know where this is now. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Where are we? And it was weird because at the very end of the movie, they did it again. I'm saying all this stuff about it, but I actually like that they were going all over the place. It makes sense because Hellboy's going to be on all these jobs, so of course he's going to be like going from New York to England.
The movie I hate more than anything in the world, Chicken Little. It was very near Chicken Little level, dangling your keys in front of the camera as far as trying to grab your attention.
Oh, where it felt like you didn't want to lose your attention.
Yeah, I didn't want to lose your interest.
The movie came off like it was too afraid to breathe in a moment, because it felt like if you did breathe in a moment that it would lose the attention of the audience. And I really don't feel like that would have been the case. I really don't feel like that would have happened.
I really think that if they just took 5 minutes per scene to just breathe and take in things, like the things that they throw not only at the audience but at Hellboy himself, he has no time to absorb it. He has no time to react. So he just gets mad because he's just as confused as we are about everything that's going on, and there's just no time to really enjoy what is going on.
I really wanted to like this film.
The first third of it, I did kind of like it.
Yeah, there are moments in this movie where it's like there are hit or misses in this movie, and the hits are hits. Like, they are really good moments. Like,
what they nailed, they nailed.
Yeah. And the weirdest part to me is,
what?
After everything we just said, I still recommend you watch this film.
Yeah.
Me saying I recommend that you still watch it once. Watch on your own accord, and if your own accord means rental or streaming or whatever, however it gets released.
It's not a movie you can get the feel for by watching a review. I hate to be meta, but...
Meta, and please watch my review.
It's good to have, like, an idea of going in. Don't go in expecting a cohesive movie.
With all that said, I'm going to give 2019's Hellboy a D+.
And with all of that said, I'm going to give 2019 Hellboy a you.
Cut! Brittany, why don't you give a real grade?
With all that said, I will also give a Hellboy a D-.
Brittany, thank you for appearing on this video with me.
No problem.
Hopefully we can do another review in the future.
Definitely.
And maybe I'll have other people on board with me in the future too for other films.
Yeah.
So those are our thoughts on 2019's Hellboy. If you have any thoughts yourself and you want to put it in the comments, maybe how you feel about Del Toro's film in comparison to this one, whatever you'd like to say, put it in the comments below. And if you liked this video, then subscribe. Thanks for watching.